this is not a segment, just an excuse to show those pictures. We'll keep them to a minimum. This is a serious subject here. Mexican security forces capturing one of the top Mexican cartel leaders today while violence continues to plague the U.S.-Mexico border cities. But with tourism being a big moneymaker for Mexico, are the warnings for tourists to stay away legitimate? Our next guest says no way. Mexico Tourism Board Midwest Director Rodrigo Esponda joins me now from Chicago. Rodrigo, thank you very much for joining me in the Diamond District.
Thank you, Rebecca, for having me.
Okay, I want to start off because this is interesting. The way I found you guys and came about this story is that you guys sent me an email really upset about a segment that Sean Hannity did, and you guys thought that I was a guest on that show. I said, no, that was Kimberly Guilfoyle. Some people get me mixed up with her. But so you didn't like the segment and the fact that you're saying that everyone is telling Americans don't go to Mexico, to Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, etc., because of all the violence, when your claim is that it's isolated in the border cities, correct?
Exactly. And first, Rebecca, let us apologize for the email thing. But yes, it's important to clarify an important misconception, because what is happening in Mexico and what the U.S. Department said is not, it didn't issue a warning, it issued an alert. And there is a big difference between what is a warning and an alert. And a warning is, for example, to countries like Iraq. And an alert, just a short term highlighting some specific things that are happening. And as you pointed out, the violence that is happening in Mexico is isolated in just 5 counties of the 2,400 ones that are in Mexico. And tourists have not been affected and will not be affected. Tourists, we do take care of business, as you said. Tourism is a very important industry of Mexico. In fact, this is a business program, and it's important to say that tourism is the 3rd source of foreign exchange revenues for the country. One of every 10 Mexicans work.
Rodrigo, so there have not been any incidents of violence at all in your main tourist areas that you can connect to the drug cartel?
Exactly. Well, crime is not isolated to any part. You don't know what exactly is going to happen in crime. But the tourist destinations in Mexico are completely safe. And tourists right now, as we are speaking, there are thousands of people in Mexico enjoying a good time. Actually, for example, destinations like Cancun, they have 80% occupancy right now. Puerto Vallarta is exactly the same, and Riviera Maya is even higher. So the fact that people are having a very good experience in Mexico, that resembles what we really are taking care of tourists.
Well,
and that's an important clarification.
Right. No, I mean, we know the difference. People know the difference, and people are still going there. Parents are allowing their kids go to spring break to Cancun and Mazatlan and so forth. I think people know the difference, but they also have to be aware that this is going on. And I think it helps that the Mexico currency is weaker, and so our dollar there goes a long way because people are trying to save money. But your tourism has declined a little bit. I don't know if it's due to the violence there that people are seeing on TV, or because we have a weak economy here, people are trying to save money. But even if they do go to Mexico, to these tourist destinations, they still have to be safe regardless.
Yeah, but you mentioned that our tourism is a little bit down, and in fact we closed 2008 very strongly when many destinations have seen a decline in their tourism. We had a 5% increase. So tourism is a very important industry, and in fact right now destinations are completely safe and full. But you mentioned that Mexico is offering value, but also is offering other kinds of things. In Mexico, you can have a meaningful experience when you travel. You have the culture, things like the Aztecs ruins and the Mayan pre-Hispanic site are just outside Cancun. So that connection, what you can have a very good time at the beach, enjoying a margarita, but also really pampering and having a cultural experience.
Rodrigo, thank you very much. Rodrigo Esponda. He's from the Mexico Tourism Board, and trying to make clear, folks, that the resort destinations separate from all the border violence there that you see going on. But you really got to it's a tough decision. They're going to be drinking. Let's turn it over to the guys over there for Trading Spaces.